Hey there, welcome to Midnight Crafting. In this episode, we're going to make a custom Mandalorian Mudhorn patch to go on my jean jacket. Now, I've had this jean jacket for quite some time and I really love it, and I thought what better way to spice it up than to add Din's Signet. So I'm going to open up my iPad to find some reference images, and I found one that I liked. Dimensions seem to work out well, and the design is spot on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trace that image onto some tearaway stabilizer. It's basically an adhesive film that you could put onto your fabric when you're embroidering. The stabilizer has two sides to it. It has a felt kind of fuzzy side to it, and on the back side it has a wax paper side. Now, basically what ends up happening is you will peel away that back side and you will basically take the sticky side and adhere to your fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to size up the signet to the size I want for the patch. And now what I'm going to do is place my stabilizer over the image, and as you can see, the iPad makes for a great light box. You also want to tape down the stabilizer. I should have taped it on both sides. The wax paper on the back tends to let the image slide a little bit, or your stabilizer slide a little bit across the glass. Also, you can't erase on the stabilizer that felt side, so you want to make sure you get your lines as close to perfect as possible. Sweet, it's all done. And let's see if the hoop fits the design, and it does. Awesome. All right, so we have our fabric, and what you're going to want to do is open up your hoop and place the inside circle down, and then place your fabric over that. And then from there, take the larger hoop, place it around the smaller hoop, and then tighten that hoop. Finally, you're going to want to pull on the fabric. You want it tight like a drum, and then I'm just going to cut away the excess. And there you have it. Fabric placed in our hoop, nice and tight. And now let's go ahead and cut down our image. Bam. All right, so now we got to get it onto the fabric. The backing is really tough to get off. So what I like to do is to take a needle and I scratch the surface of the stabilizer. It tears pretty easily with the needle. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of score and slide the needle underneath the fabric in between the backing. And once I get a grip, pull the two apart. As you can see, that wax backing comes right off. And now we could place it onto our fabric. Righteous. Now you also want to smooth it out. Just make sure that there's no air bubbles in between the fabric and the stabilizer. And there we go. All right, so I'm grabbing some embroidery floss, and what I like doing is I like splitting the floss. I don't like using all 6 strings. The floss is pretty thick. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down to 2 strings, and that's what I'm going to use to sew with. And here you can see that I am threading my needle. I really need to fire my camera guy though. All right, so we're starting the design. What you want to do is you want to, once you've knotted your thread, you start by placing your needle underneath the hoop and then poking up through your design. And then once you pull your thread all the way through, you just start repeating that pattern by going back down through the design and then up and down and up and down and up and down. It's pretty monotonous, but a lot of fun. So I decided to start off with the horn, and there's something really satisfying, I think, when you get really close to finishing a section. And those last couple threads that you put in there just feels so awesome. You know that you finished one section and you're one step closer to realizing your design. Sweet. So next I'm going to jump over to the skull, and In hindsight, I wouldn't have started on both the horn and the skull in one of the corners. I would have started in the center, but I think that's just part of the learning process. And again, another point where you get so close, you're almost done with a section. It feels so good. You can see how I couldn't erase on my stabilizer, so just understanding what your design looked like originally and the lines you want to follow is important. Awesome. The skull is just about done. Feels so good. Last couple pokes here, and awesome sauce. All right, let's get some black thread. So what I'm going to do now is outline the skull with my black thread. And you can see, again, a pretty simple process here where we just follow the pattern. Now, right now you can see how the line looks a little jagged. It's not perfectly straight. We're going to be able to hide that a little later in the process. It doesn't have to be perfect, but try to get it as straight as possible. There are a couple different techniques that you can use. For the lines I'm doing in black, I'm just doing a back stitch at this moment, and then for the white fill I did a satin stitch. Oh man, so close. I could just feel it. We're almost to the end of the skull. Just have the horn left to do. Again, once you finish these sections, you're like, yes. At this point, you could really start to feel the whole entire thing coming to life with that black outline. All right, we're almost done outlining the design. And now what I'm going to start doing is filling in the eyes, the mouth, and the nose section, and then right underneath the horn with black thread as well. And one thing you might want to do, which I didn't do for the eye, is outline the inside of the eye as well. I didn't do it, but in hindsight, I feel like that's something I would have liked to have done. Oh, awesome. And design is done. We could release it from the hoop. Release the Kraken. And righteous. Design complete. Now, I started cutting away the image. I should have waited, because what we're going to do is apply a iron-on backing here. So this is like a fusible interface that just bonds to the patch. However, in doing this, I should have first let the patch stay as a whole and iron it on, and then cut out the patch with the fusing on the back. The patch, or the fusing, has two parts to it, or two sides. One side is rough and bumpy, the back side is kind of felty. What you want to do is place your patch on the bumpy side, and then you're going to iron it down. I unfortunately lost the footage there. I don't have that ironing process. So you're going to take your needle and thread, and what you want to do is you want to sew around the border of your patch, basically trapping the backing to the patch itself. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle, push it from the top down, and then come back around to the top and push your needle around, in essence looping that around the border. Now, I kept on poking myself in this process, so I grabbed myself some electrical tape and made myself a impromptu thimble for my fingers. Hack achievement unlocked. Cool. So now that my fingers are all safe and secure, I can continue going. I would say this process was the more tedious of all the parts of this project. The border is really thin and it just takes a lot of time. One of the issues I ran into, and in hindsight I would change, I was using a pretty thick gauged needle. So in the future, when I go around these borders, I'm going to use a thinner gauge. It'll make that process a lot easier. All right, that patch is done. Let's get this bad boy on the jacket. So I placed my jacket down and just put the patch into the position I wanted it. And then from there, I'm going to grab my thread and needle. And from the inside of the jacket, I'm going to reach my hand into the arm, push my needle up through the border of the patch, and then push my needle back down. Now I'm starting off by anchoring the patch in a couple points. So I anchored it at the section where the horn meets the skull, and then I'm also going to anchor the chin. And I just want to make sure that the patch doesn't start sliding on me and moving into a place that I don't want it. And then from there, you can go ahead and repeat the process that you're doing with embroidering, where we're going to pull our thread through and attach it to the jacket. You can keep your stitches pretty loose here. They don't have to be tight. I was doing about 1/4 of an inch for my stitches. And another thing to note, it's pretty important, you want to make sure that there are no folds or creases in the jacket as you're attaching the patch down. If you do that, then you'll have a wonky sew job that you just don't want to do that. I said sew job. Let's get to that reveal. Bam! There it is. Signet on that jacket. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make this. If you do me a favor, please like and subscribe. Cool. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Rock on.